Hey guys, Lex here again, and today we are hitting up the Trial of Sekhemas. Love it or hate it, you have to run this at least once for your Ascendancy, and there have been a few guides created on this already, but to this day, I still see a lot of complaints about the trial when trying to complete it as a pure melee character. And I see these comments on Reddit and YouTube comments. Other places, I don't know, that's where I spend most of my time. And many of the existing Trial of Sekhemas guides don't really take that into account. Going through the trial and even playing the game generally is very different as melee, honestly more difficult I'd say overall. So I figured I'd take you through this run as I grab my 5th and 6th Ascendancy points. Here real quick, you can see that I only have 4 allocated at this point, but even if you're having trouble picking up your Ascendancy for the first time and getting those first points, I'm going to go over what you should be doing, on that first floor as a level 30-ish character or whatever you may be, and that's pretty much it. A little different style of video for me this time around, but I wanted to make this because, again, I see a lot of negative comments about the trial, which, to be honest, is somewhat fair. Like, without any knowledge, the trial can be so brutal for a first-timer, especially as a melee character. But at this point, I've run it a few times. I wanted to share my knowledge, some tips and tricks, etc., so that you can feel a little safer running this as a melee. In full transparency, I am level 79, so a bit over-leveled for the level 70 version of the trial, but I run it successfully, at the lower levels employing these same strategies. And I'm not using any crazy gear or anything. I haven't spent a single div on my set. I'll do a quick mouse over my gear just so you can see what I'm using, but with that aside, let's get into it. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few preliminary things that should be in place before you start running the trial. First, your build. Before you even start the trial, you need to make sure that your build is in a good place. And what I mean by that is basically these things. You have a way of dealing with groups of enemies easily, you have a good source of single target damage for bossing, you have a move speed or mobility skill that you can utilize, and you have layers of some kind of defense, whether that's armor and block or evasion and energy shield, etc. I would say that your build's damage here is especially important because although you don't need to be one-shotting bosses for millions of damage, you also don't want boss fights to go on too long here because the chances of you taking damage and ultimately failure keep going up more and more as boss mechanics like pile on throughout the course of a fight. And if you are around level 30 and are attempting your trial run, all of this still stands. Obviously, you don't have a ton of passive points, but at this point of your campaign playthrough, your build should have a way to clear groups and kill bosses, perhaps from, something like Shield Charge and Bone Shatter for groups, and Perfect Strike or Maze Strike for bosses if you're a warrior, etc. 2, Relics. So obviously this is not applicable if you are level 30, you just kind of roll with what you are given while following the quest line, unless you trade for some, I guess, but I wouldn't recommend that. You don't need to do that. This is more relevant to your endgame Ascendancy points when you're around level 70. You've probably heard this before, but you want to try and stack honor resistance as much as you can. This is basically like armor for your honor meter, which we'll go over very briefly in a second, but it's super strong in helping you survive the trial since it reduces the amount that is drained from your honor meter when you get hit. So look for that roll on Relics if you're running this for your last few Ascendancy points. Maximum honor is also another good roll. I think the percent defenses roll can also be good. That works as like a pseudo honor resistance from what I understand, but really honor resistance I think is still going to be your best bet. Also, and I am not trying to show off here, but one of my viewers actually challenged me to run this without using any relics, and I mean, take a look. Since the ones that I currently have are crap anyway, I figured why not? Maybe something karmic will happen and I'll just fail and start the run over, but we'll see. My third and final point is understand how honor works. It's not that hard, but basically it's like an overall life bar that makes you fail the trial once it is depleted, and basically any type of damage your character takes depletes the bar, including damage over time effects. Again, honor resistance on relics, percent defenses on relics, or even your own character defenses are going to mitigate the damage. So as a heavy armor boy, you can shrug off some hits. There are also multiple ways to replenish your honor during a run, so that can also have an effect on like how you progress through a floor. That said though, it's still ideal to basically avoid almost all the hits you can. If that honor bar gets depleted, you lose no matter how much damage your character has taken overall. It's all about the honor bar. Anyways, with that said, let's get started with the run. I figure I'll just start going here and essentially describe my thought process for how I navigate the trial, how I deal with each room type, and obviously how I deal with the bosses. All right, real quick, I'm gonna stash these relics back and get started over here. I'm gonna try no relics. Oh, what is this? 38 we'll go full no relics just for the meme. We'll see how it goes. Again, if I fail, I'll start the run over again, and all the advice I'm giving you is still relevant. Hope maybe I'll find something with some honor resistance, but let's get going. All right, here we go. All right, so it looks like the first room is an Hourglass room. All right, so this one's pretty straightforward. Obviously, you're going to pull this lever, and then a bunch of mobs are going to start spawning around you in this room. It is a good source of sacred water if you can kill a bunch of mobs, and obviously the rares that start popping up every now and then. But prioritize, again, not getting hit. I'm usually just running circles around the room and just like avoiding damage. So let's just see how this goes. All right, and I'll try not to use too many crazy combos. I want to kind of simulate a level 30 character a little bit since this is the first floor. So let's see what we can do with Mace Strike. But you can see here, I'm just going to keep on... I mean, you have Resonating Shield level 30, so I'm going to use that too. Just going to keep on running in circles. Here is a rare here. Let's see. Again, just keep rolling in circles, man. Like, you can avoid damage as melee if you're just rolling around. It's really... I don't think it's that hard, obviously. You do lose out in Sacred Water if you play more defensively, so I'm going to try and get a little bit out of this as we are playing. Here, let's see if we can get a little damage on this guy. Oh, well, that's nice. Alright, throw one shield wall out there. I don't want to, like, make this too ridiculous. I'll kill 2 rares, which is reasonable, I think, for a level 30 character. But I'm just going to play, you know, evasive for the most part for now and just kill the small guys. And there we go. And you can see at the bottom, I haven't taken a single hit, you know, just you play evasive. You want to prioritize not losing honor, but grab Sacred Water where you can. Oh, and real quick, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. Boons and Afflictions will also make or break your run. So you obviously want to prioritize getting Sacred Water so that you have enough, that's the currency of this trial, so that you have enough currency to buy like good boons from the merchant. You don't want to pass up those opportunities to get something like, you know, Ornate Dagger or Hair Foot so you can run faster, etc. So Sacred Water, very important. Even more important than that, though, is just avoiding the right afflictions, the right things that are going to curse you during the run. We'll get more into that as we see some examples. All right, so obviously I'm not going to spend 5 Sacred Water to restore honor. I'm already at maximum. Let's take a look at what our trial map options are. All right, so it's always good to plan your route out when you see this screen, when you're looking at the trial map. Obviously, there are some afflictions here, a whole wall of them, so we're going to have to take one of them, but I'm going to kind of go through and see which one I'm like most okay with taking as a melee character. So take 115 physical damage on room completion. I do think that's actually mitigated by your armor. I could be wrong about that, but that is actually a pretty minor one. I would be okay with that. 25% less maximum honor. I would take the top one over this one. Let's see, the merchant offers 50% fewer choices. That's pretty rough. I'd rather take the top one still. Lose 30 Sacred Water on room completion. Pass on that. Lose 20 Sacred Water when you take damage from an enemy hit. Never. That's a really rough one, since you're basically losing the currency that will make or break your run every time you take a hit, potentially. And if you get a little unlucky and take like a string of hits, that could cost you a lot. So I think we're going to try and progress towards this top one. And it's good to pay attention to the arrows. Make sure you're choosing a room that actually connects to the way you're trying to go. So we're going to have to go through this Gauntlet trial, and then this will be an escape trial. So we'll start with the Gauntlet trial. All right, so Gauntlet rooms are filled with enemies and traps. As a melee character, it's actually not too bad. It's mostly just, you know, paying attention, making sure you're not getting tagged by traps unnecessarily, and just making sure you're dealing with like the monster threats in a decent amount of time, like pretty much as soon as you see them, if they're not near any traps or anything like that. But with that said, let's get started. So this trap is an interesting example. I don't think you should ever get tagged by this trap, because really this is the way you should think about it. If the ground is rumbling, the trap is going to hit you soon. If the trap is already erupted, the spikes are already up, it's going to be a safe zone in a second. So you can really just dance on these traps with no risk. Just walk to where the spikes are and just don't stand on the rumbling ground. It's really, you know, it's not too hard. Just program your brain and you're looking at these things to you know, the rumbling ground's bad. Just that's what you should know. But yeah, let's get moving. Let's go down here. Is there, oh, this is just a dead end, isn't it? Well, hold on, no, there is a way. Flame traps are pretty straightforward. You can even roll through them to avoid the damage. You can see I did not take any damage there. I'm just gonna stand between them, play it safe. There is a lever here, so we need to unlock the way forward. Let's do this. All right, we're gonna go right back over here. Rumbling ground, wait a second, there we go. Wait here, there we go, easy enough. And we're just gonna progress over here. I'm expecting some enemies soon, but I'm not really seeing any. Another big trap room again. Oh, here we go. Now, it may take a little longer if you're level 30. You may have to prime them for stun in some way, maybe shield charge or just whatever ability you have. You may not kill them that quickly, but, you know, just deal with them as quickly as you can, then move on. All right, let's go over here and check this out. Remember, rumbling ground is bad. Where the traps emerge is good. Just go where the spikes are. Easy enough. Get the other lever here. I'll check this chest. Yeah, why not? All right, going down this way, same logic. Rumbling ground is bad. There we go. Oh, we got some relics. You know what? If we fail this run, perhaps I will take advantage of that. We'll see. Enemy here. We'll just magma barrier. Oh, that didn't actually kill him. I think it missed. Oh, that's another thing to note there. You see how long it took for that thing to hit me? The overworld variants of the enemies here, you can even see, I'll use these guys as an example. Hopefully they can break out of these stones. They actually take a lot longer to swing and hit you than, yeah, the ones here are a lot slower than their overworld variants. Look at these beetles. Look how long that swing is. They attack way faster, like in Act 2. And I've learned this from being a magma barrier build and going through with magma barrier because I'm always trying to time the attacks. I'm always trying to time the magma barrier to the attacks, or at least in the past. So it's funny to me that they slowed it down. I noticed it immediately. I'm like, why is my timing off? These guys are not triggering my magma barrier, and it's because they GGG slowed down the attacks of all the enemies in this trial, which is nice, honestly. I think only a few have the normal attack speed, but that is also kind of like a bone they are throwing you to make it a little easier for melee characters. But all right, let's check what's going on in this room. Actually, you know what? It makes sense to go back out here. Because we want to get sacred water. If there's an easy way to get some sacred water from another enemy, I might just go ahead and do that. If there's another group, yeah, see, we might get some sacred water from these guys. Yep, we did 7 sacred water. So it is good if you are okay with it. I mean, I recommend it to be thorough, is going back and killing enemies because you can get more sacred water. You need sacred water to survive. Very important. All right, those guys didn't drop. Oh, wait, I see some more enemies over here. Let's finish these guys off real quick too. All right, nothing. All right, so let's just go back to the end of the room and we'll see what's coming up next. Ah, nice. So we got Sacred Water Fountain. These are always great to see. Lots of currency. Just stack that up until you see a merchant. All right, so what is this boon here? I don't think we're going to grab, or this affliction. We're not going to get this. Yes, lose all sacred water on floor completion. It's kind of like situational, you know. I would avoid it, but if you have low sacred water and you don't, you know, you just spent a bunch and it's like the first room of another floor or something, this isn't the worst. You're going to lose like the sacred water you earned on that one room, but I would not recommend this overall, especially if you have a bunch stacked up. Obviously, don't take this affliction. But yeah, just looking ahead, we're going to go with the escape trial here into the silver key most likely. So this is an escape trial. Let's get started. All right, escape trials, you're probably familiar with them at this point. It's very straightforward. Once you hit this death crystal, or once you click on it, it's going to start a timer, and it'll kind of show you where the next death crystal is. You just have to run to it as quickly as you can. Just hit all the death crystals, and then the timer will stop. If the timer runs out, you pretty much just fail the trial immediately. There are going to be some enemies and obstacles in the way. Honestly, I would prioritize just getting to the death crystals first if you want to play it safe, and then worry about mopping up the enemies and getting some sacred water after. If there's an enemy like right in my face and the timing is looking okay, I might just go ahead and kill that group or something, but generally I will try to prioritize the crystals first if I'm trying to play it super safe. All right, let's get started. All right, so we're going up north. Let's go ahead and sprint. Ooh, group right here. Just roll by that. Another group here. It does take more time to come back and kill these guys, but again, you don't want to lose the trial. So overall, I think it makes sense to prioritize this if you are just trying to make it to the next room. All right, here we go. Go up this way. And yeah, especially when you're a lower level, you're not going to be able to kill mobs this quickly. So I would just recommend, you know, unless you have a lot of excess time like I do now, I would just recommend getting the crystals first and then going back and getting the mobs, you know, just getting some sacred water if you want to increase your chances of winning. All right, let's just mop these guys up. And obviously you should play it a little extra safe. You don't want to take any unnecessary damage. You don't want to take any honor damage. So even though you're just mopping up, this is optional, still like focus up. You don't want to take any unnecessary damage. So even though it's just like groups of mobs and I'm safe to go to the next room, I'm still being pretty careful about how I'm going back here and killing all these guys. All right. Oh, yep. Group of spiders here. Get rid of them. Good, good, good. Some more serpents. That'll work. Ah, these guys. This is a magic group here. There we go. Nice. Good. Yeah, totally worth it. Good chunk of sacred water there. So I was happy that we went back and cleaned them up. All right, now let's see what the next room is looking like. Awesome. More sacred water. Love to see that. And what do we have here? All right, so monsters deal 30% more damage. Kind of bad. I would avoid this if you can, but also it's not as bad as some of the other like afflictions. So I would avoid it if possible, but if you had to choose it between some of the other like terrible ones, this one may not be so bad, but we don't have to worry about that because it looks like we have an option down here. Depending on what this looks like going forward, this will give you honor and grants you a boon. This is actually a really nice bonus, so I think I'm going to progress this way. All right. Oh, and I forgot to look at the room type. Let's just take a look at what the room type is as I get in here. Blood Chalice. All right, so this, you know how this works. You basically just hunt down the rares in this room after you click this, and just be very careful about it. This is just killing the rares, and then you unlock the way to the next room. But again, there are some groups of mobs, so just be very careful. Don't take any unnecessary damage. That's like the whole key here is don't take any unnecessary damage. Just play very carefully. All right, let's get it moving. All right, here's the first rare. Let's just charge over here. You know what? I'm going to use Mace Strike. I'm going to try and use Mace Strike. Oops, to finish this guy off. Just to simulate, again, a level 30. Like, again, you just have to be careful, man. Just play, like, prioritize evasiveness rather than offense. You know, you don't want to take damage. So even if you have to just take one swing at a time, just play it super safe. I'm just waiting for him to do his thing, avoiding the Novas, etc. You can easily avoid like all damage at a lower level. You just have to, you know, be careful about it. There we go. All right, I'm gonna speed this up. I'm gonna actually use my abilities now since I am level 78 and try to get through this a little more quickly, a little more safely perhaps. Let's see, got this. All right, down here is the rare down here. No, oh, here we go. All right, let's go ahead and do this. There we go. Oh, I took a little damage there. I thought that thing spraying me would tag me. I think that's what happened. Again, I should have played it more carefully. The little bit of damage I took there is not the end of the world, obviously, but I do not like taking unnecessary damage. So total, very minor, but it is technically still a mistake. All right, let's go see what we have going forward here. Silver key for sure, and trial map. Nice, it's looking like the way is pretty clear, honestly. I mean, we have the Hourglass Trial. Obviously, we're going to go here and get that nice boon. And then another Sacred Water Fountain. I honestly prioritize the Sacred Water over the keys and everything else just because that currency is so useful. And when you get to run into Balbala, the merchant, you get to buy some really powerful boons if she happens to offer them. And those boons can easily just make the run. So definitely prioritize Sacred Water. All right, but for now, let's go to the Hourglass Trial. I'm not going to explain this. We already did this in the beginning. I'm just going to go ahead and clear this room because you already know how this works. All right, here we go. I'm going to try and pile up a little bit more Sacred Water this time around. Again, Sacred Water stacking is more important for late game than it is for early game or when you're doing this as level 30 because you may or may not run into the merchant, honestly. You might just have to do it without any purchased boons, but as a higher level, definitely prioritize like getting as much Sacred Water as you can. All right, let's try to get to this rare over here. Oh, avoid that. Shield wall, done. Oh man, these guys are loaded with Sacred Water. What is going on here, bro? All right, hold on. Get a little crowded. Again, just going to prioritize evasiveness just for a second. All right. There we go. Done. Oh, also something I forgot to mention is that the timer will actually decrease in these rooms if you kill the rares. So if you want to get through it faster, you should prioritize killing the rares. I mean, you should do that anyway, but really top priority is not taking damage. Second priority, kill the rares if you can. All right, I think I may have actually gotten tagged there again. And 5 honor will fill me back up to maximum honor and give me a random boon. So let's see which boon we get. Totally worth 5 honor, or 5 Sacred Water, by the way. Scrying Crystal. All right, in my opinion, one of the best boons you can get. We're getting a little lucky here, I apologize, but this lets you see further ahead on the map so you don't get trapped into like a wall or some options, some terrible affliction options. So that is actually going to be really helpful. Apologies, I hope that didn't give me too much of an advantage. Again, level 30 doesn't matter as much, but going through the whole trial here, that's really good to see early on. All right, let's take a look at the map. So we do have some Sacred Water here. The merchant does make an appearance, but we get 50% reduced honor restored. which actually isn't that bad. It doesn't mean, it means you can restore honor still, but you're going to restore half as much. So if you're still playing very carefully, it's not the worst boon, you know, like you'll still get some benefit out of restoring your honor. So honestly, I don't consider it that bad of an affliction. 100% increased damage on low life. Also not the worst as long as you're keeping your life higher up and you're just paying attention to your life total. I don't even think this affliction is that badly, but I think I am going to risk it just a little bit and go with the 50% less honor restored and see what Balbala has to offer as a merchant. But yeah, let's get started with the Chalice trial. We've already explained this one, hunt down the rares, so we're just going to go ahead and go through it. All right, here we go. Group of enemies here. Just going to wipe them out real quick. Play it very carefully. I think this is our first rare. Yes, it is. All right, he is down. Again, sorry, it's kind of fast with my build, but if you're level 30, just employ whatever tactic you've learned at this point to deal with rares or single targets, you know, just shield charge to like build up heavy stun or something. You don't have to be like one-shotting these things, you just have to play carefully, and you should be dealing some respectable damage, but don't feel bad if you're not killing these things like super fast or anything, you know, it's really not about that. All right, got some more sacred water, and we'll get some more from the reward here. Actually, let's go explore down here just in case there are some enemies. I would like a little bit more sacred water if possible. Here we go. Do we get any? Nope, not worth. All right, here we go, guys. Let's see what we have in this room. All right, nice. Of course, the Sacred Water Fountain, so we have 700, which is a pretty good amount. We're going to go risk it and go for the Merchant, and then we have the Boss. So this is going to be a Gauntlet trial. I think I went over one of these already, so I'm not going to go ahead and describe it. We'll just kind of get through it as quickly as we can. Well, quickly and as safely as we can. All right, so what do we have here? Traps, 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 enemies. Again, source of Sacred Water if you can kill them. Nothing, though. There is a relic here. I am extra paranoid of the very edge of these flames, though. I really don't know what the hitbox is of these, but I try to stay away as far as I can from the edges. All right, spike traps. Just again, don't stand on rumbling ground and you'll be fine. There we go. Nothing good over here. And I'm not super interested in looting this time around. I just want to kind of display the trial and getting to the end of it and getting your ascendancies. So I'm not going to spend too much time looting. I just want to get through. Oh, here we go. Any sacred water, please, please, please. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. All right, first lever. Oh, missed some there. Sweet. All right, let's roll through this. You can roll through the flames again. You won't take any damage if you are positioning and timing it right. No sacred water from these guys. What is going on, dude? Easy trap once again. Just again. Rumbling ground. Just don't be on the rumbling. Ooh, rumbling ground. I made a mistake there. It's hard for me to talk. What can I say? I got hit by a fireball from one of those things. So that hurt. Not to the end of the world, but it did hurt me. So what's ironic is that you can actually block that fireball too. I should not have taken that hit. Sorry, guys. All right, I think the lever is up here somewhere. So let's check this out. Yep, we got some spiders. Oh, it's not. These are just chests. Well, let's grab these anyway. Sure. Loot isn't the big... I might just drop some of the loot, honestly. I'm going to prioritize other things in my inventory. Oop. I guess one thing I'm going to mention too is that I'm sprinting a lot less if I know that there are enemies around. I feel like getting knocked down while sprinting could be a death sentence. Here, let's go this way. Oh, well, we don't need another lever, I think. I think this is the way forward, so let's go this way. This looks like the end, right? Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Very good. And we have the merchant. Let's see what she has to offer. All right, so what do we have here? Reduced merchant prices is okay. Glowing orb is actually pretty good. That can save you if you go down below 20% maximum life, and if you have something like life, like that can drain your own life, which I do. I'm blood magic currently. You can just force yourself to go below 20% of your life and restore all your life, energy shield, and 50% of your honor. That's the most important part. So you can restore half of your honor meter if you're like below half, like really, getting low on your honor. You can just force yourself to go below 20% health and get 50% of your honor back. So they can also kind of save you in a run. And I think I probably will get this. All right, so we get this. Honestly, maximum honor is not a bad choice. I think I'm probably going to go with this as well and hope that we get some better options in the future. Well, hold on. Actually, I might hang on to this because Balbala also shows up after the boss as a merchant. So I'm going to save my Sacred Water for now. This is not a bad option, nor is this one, but only if you have like some like excess Sacred Water to spare. This is actually not too bad because if you run into the merchant again, everything will be half price. Sometimes you just buy all the boons she has to offer, which is really nice, but kind of RNG, so I can understand if you don't want to spend 420 sacred water on this. I personally kind of like the gambling aspect, but I would say this is the safer choice out of the two. All right, with that said, let us get to the boss of the first floor. All right, so a little explanation. This is the first boss, the Earth Golem guy, and I'll be honest, this guy might be scary the first time you run into him, but overall, he's pretty easy. And also, to be clear, I'm not going to go over absolutely every boss mechanic, but I will give you more like general advice on how you should approach the fight, and specifically which moves and mechanics are most dangerous and you should watch out for. So he always opens with this explosion attack, so back up for that, but once the fight starts, I kid you not, you are actually safer the closer you are to him. I know that doesn't sound true, but basically, as long as you aren't in front of this guy, you can just keep circling around to his butt and getting free hits in when he tries to hit you. So you basically just want to bait out attacks and circle around him. Just pretend like you're playing Dark Souls and you're backstab fishing. However, I do think in Phase 2 things do get a little more serious. He'll usually do that explosion that he opens the fight with to signal to you that he's in Phase 2 and that the fight is going to ramp up a bit. And, well, it does. So the little volcanoes are going to start popping up and shooting projectiles in random directions. The boss will make rocks fall from the ceiling, and it starts getting a little hectic, and you definitely want to end this phase sooner rather than later. But again, don't panic, easy stuff, you'll see. Let's get started. All right, here we go. He's going to open with the explosion, so you just want to back off, and again, just maybe hit him with a shield charge after it's over. Let's wait for it. Here he goes, charging up, and there it is. Back up, back up, back up. All right, close the distance with a shield charge, and just go to his butt. Bop, bop, bop. Roll to his butt. Bop, bop. The fissures are a little scary. There are some volcanoes there, but again, if you are behind this guy, this is not terribly difficult. Again, any level you can do this. And this is obviously only relevant for phase 1, but again, just constantly just rotating, trying to get behind him. Not too bad, not too bad. All right, but let's do this a little bit more seriously. Let me try winding up another shield charge. We'll try to get a heavy stun off. Whoop. There we go. All right, now, you know what? I'm going to nuke him with my shield wall just because it's a lot of damage. Sorry, I did not mean to actually one-shot him. Please don't die, please don't die. Oh, okay. So I just want to show you a little bit of phase 2. You can see how much it ramps up. Sorry. Obviously, you may do a good bit of damage with a perfect strike at level 30, but I don't know if you're going to hit him quite that hard. But you can see more things are falling from the ceiling. It's getting chaotic, chaotic, chaotic. You really just want to make sure you end the fight as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Yeah, hold on, let's see here. Again, I just want to bait out the explosion move again, but you know, just pay attention. It's a lot to pay attention to, but just roll at the right times. If you see like something falling near you or if a projectile is heading your way, just roll through it, you know. All right, I'm starting to take some damage, so I'm going to go ahead and end this fight. There we go, he is down. He's really not too bad, though. Again, you can keep using that tactic for all of phase 1, just circling around, hitting his butt, priming him for bone shatters, and then when he's heavy stunned, use perfect strike. Just use whatever nuke, you know, not assuming you're not a warrior, use whatever it is that you're nuking single targets with whenever you heavy stun him or whenever you have an opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity. His moveset isn't that crazy in phase 2. It's really all the crap around the environment. Just, you know, stay calm, avoid all the projectiles, but try to end the fight quickly in phase 2 because you'll start getting hit by random crap. All right, let's go ahead and grab our loot here. Nice, nice, nice. And let's see what we got in here. Let's see if Balbala offers us something nice. Let's check it out. All right, so we have, ooh, Fright Mask is actually really good. Monsters deal 20% less damage. That's really good for preserving your honor. So that is popping out to me as a good option. Your Sacred Water found is increased by 10% on room completion, removed when you purchase something from the merchant. This is okay. I think I'm more drawn to the Fright Mask. This can be good too, Adrenaline Vial, but this is, I think, the clear choice out of the 3. Just taking 20% less damage overall is going to be helpful, and this applies to bosses as well. So this will, I think, overall, like, help you successfully complete a run more than the other 2 options. So we go ahead and buy that. Thank you, Balbala. Oh, and if you're level 30, this is where you get your first Ascendancy and your Ascendancy points. So you get to pick here, and you're pretty much done. So yeah, that section of this guide is over. If you're level 30 and you're here, you get your Ascendancy here, you pick your points, you're good to go. But since I am level 78 or 79, we're going to keep going, and I'm going to keep, you know, guiding through the melee process. All right, not going to spend any keys here. Let's just go ahead and enter the next floor. All right, let's take a look at this map. Oh, it's so nice seeing 3 nodes ahead with Scrying Orb. That's honestly so overpowered. Like, if you have a chance to even pick that, I would if you got the Sacred Water for it. It's really useful. All right, so there's another merchant in this tier 2 here. Rewards are unknown on the trial map. I don't like the lack of information, and on top of that, I don't really have a ton of Sacred Water right now. Let's see, how much do I have? I have 171, so even if the merchant was offering something good, I don't think I'd be able to afford it. So actually, I'm probably going to skip the merchant for now and maybe go a different route. Down here, you have no armor. No, we avoid that. We avoid that. Don't. If you're a warrior, do not go that route. I mean, I guess if you're like evasion energy shield, it doesn't matter as much, but I'm not taking that. So, I mean, the path for me is pretty clear. We're going to go up here where there are no curses, and it's really nice to see, again, an extra layer ahead. So we can get this key here. We'll get this Shrine to Restore Honor, which I'll probably use since I've gotten tagged a little bit, and a large Sacred Water Fountain. Honestly, super nice to see. Very safe route. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. Yep, so the first trial is Chalice. Let's go ahead. I'm not going to explain it. It is a little different since we're on another floor, so there's some tougher enemies, different movesets, etc. to be aware of. That's pretty much the biggest difference, but we're just, the idea is the same. Hunt down the rares, kill them, and clear the rest of the floor if you want extra Sacred Water, potentially. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can do this fairly quickly. Here we go. First rare right here. Oh, just again, play it extra safe. I'm not even going to go near the rare when those Novas are up. Shield charge. Heavy stun. I'll just go ahead and use my nuke there. There we go. All right, let's find the second one. Here we go. Oh, we got the little guys. Take care of the little guys first. I want to get tagged by them. Then prioritize the rare when you're just like solo, one-on-one. There we go. Oh, the other rare made his way to us. That's nice. Ooh, want to avoid that. Again, prioritize the evasion. Not the stat, but just don't get hit by attacks if you can afford to, and you'll be good. All right, let's see. Grab some Sacred Water. I heard some enemies down here. Yeah, we're gonna clear some of this up. Any more? Nope. How about over here? Oh. Let's not get hits, as I was just saying. Ooh. Deceptive. Yeah, those guys are like the easiest thing to avoid, and I almost ran right into that Nova. Damn, alright, so no Sacred Water from the remaining enemies. That's fine, I guess. Alright, let's see what we got up ahead. Bronze Key, sure. And let's see, you and your minions deal 40% less damage. That is terrible. What is below that? Merchant offers 50% fewer choices, but you get a boon and you restore honor. Probably going to go down with this route, I think. That's going to be what makes the most sense. 40% less damage is huge. I'm not going to take that. Like, you really want to preserve your damage for getting through the bosses faster, I mean, unless you're dealing an insane amount, which maybe my build is, I'm not going to take this. Even if my build was dealing that much, it's just too much of a reduction. So definitely go with this. The merchant offers 50% fewer choices. Not so bad. All right, and we have a ritual trial. So this trial, oh wait, it's going to start already. Yeah, so this trial, basically you just want to kill these summoners as quickly as possible. It's not too hard. Again, it's similar to the Chalice room. Just, you're not hunting down rares, but you're hunting down these guys. You just don't want to get hit. Just prioritize not getting hits. More enemies will spawn from these portals as you are doing this. Hold on, give me 1 second. There we go. All right, where's the last one? Yeah, prioritize like killing the liches that are summoning, if possible. I mean, you should be able to. I just run in a circle. I just prioritize the liches while the mobs are trying to attack me, and you'll get through the room pretty easily. If you let them summon, it can kind of get a little overwhelming because they just keep summoning mobs, and that increases your chances to get tagged by one. All right, so let us take advantage of this. 5 Sacred Water to restore that much honor. Honestly, totally worth it. There we go, almost back to full. And what's the map looking like? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this large Sacred Water Fountain, no affliction or anything. This ritual trial, which is, the room that same type of the room that we just completed. Merchant offers 50% fewer choices, but then there is a merchant here at the end of this Chalice trial. So we're going to see what my Sacred Water amount is looking like after these 2 rooms. And then I may go to the merchant, or I may opt to just get some more Sacred Water. It kind of depends on what my Sacred Water amount is looking after these 2 rooms. Because how much do I have right now? Yeah, 247 is a whole lot. So I want to make sure I have like, around 500 to avoid some of the better boons. So I'm going to see what it looks like after these 2 and then make my decision from there. With that said, let's go ahead. Another Chalice trial pretty easily. Just going to hunt down the rares again. Oh, mobs here. Hello, how are you guys? All right, no Sacred Water. Come on. Ooh, I was out of range for that. Okay. Now see, like, I'm playing it super safe. I don't want to take a single hit, man. Like, if I can afford to. Here, let's do this, that. Okay. All right, and I don't feel bad using my shield walls here. Like, my damage is pretty dang good. with this build, and it's not even that expensive, so I'm going to use what I have here. I'm not pretending like I'm level 30 or whatever. I mean, there's no real reason to run the trial again, in my opinion, until you're near the late game so that you can get your other Ascendancy points. So I'm going to basically use my build at this point. Alright, let's just play it safe here with some shield walls. What do we got? Oh, block that, I think. The new blocking is nice. You can block anything that isn't one of those red animation attacks, so I do like that. It kind of makes active blocking pretty good in the trial, I think. Oh, they're dead. Is that the rare? No. Where are you, man? Oh, don't want to be in a corner. Less maneuvering means you can't avoid attacks as well, so definitely try to avoid corners if you can. No sacred water. Jesus. Oh, all right, here's the rare. Let's play a little safe here. Again, don't want to take any hits, especially since I'm not running relics. I'm like extra scared, right? All right, let's do this. Oh, get away from that projectile. Do that. All right, we're good. Nice. All right, sacred water, 299. Not looking amazing. Let's see after the fountain how much we get here. All right, 600 is looking pretty good. So I think I will go down this way, and I think I will hit up the merchant. Oh, there are 2 large sacred water fountains in a row here. The scrying orb doing work again. I may opt to go... no, I think we will go to the merchant, because then you can see these 2 connect with this arrow, and then we can go down to grab this sacred water fountain after. So I think this is the route. We go here, fewer choices, which sucks, but we go grab the merchant here, potentially buy something good, get more sacred water, and then perhaps we see the merchant again here, but if not here, we'll see the merchant after the second boss. So let's just go with the route that we planned with. All right, another ritual trial. Let's go ahead and just nuke these liches. I actually like this layout. There is one room with a bunch of these portals, and it feels like half Gauntlet, half a ritual. It's actually really annoying to get through, but that one's not too bad. 3 portals is fine. All right, let's see. So restore honor and get a random boon. So we'll be capped out on honor. Let's see what boon we get. All right, I didn't spec into luck or anything. That's pretty good. That's pretty good to just get as a bonus. That's really nice to see. Yeah, that's the guide, guys. Get lucky. I'm kidding. That's nice to see, though. That's going to make things a little easier. Oh, so you can see here that we do have the merchant in the 3rd round, but 50% less sacred water found is quite rough. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pursue that. 50% increased merchant prices, so that kind of cancels out the thing we just got, which again is not the worst thing. That is something I could take, but I'd have to kind of travel down here in order to get to that room, so that means I would not go to the merchant here. What's the top one? Monsters deal 30% more damage, and we have the Fright Mask, so they're already dealing 20% less, so they deal 10% more after that. Yeah, that's tough. I think it's got to be between these 2. Losing, like, this 50% less sacred water found is not bad if you're towards the end of the run or something, but we're still fairly early on, so I don't think I want to grab this one. It's got to be this or this. Honestly, I think I might go with the increased prices, but that means if I go here, I can't reach it. That means I would have to avoid the merchant this time around. I don't like avoiding the merchant, and if I go here, I would have to go with the 50% less sacred water found. That feels really rough. Let's think about this. All right, since I trust myself, I'm actually going to go the top route here and go for the monsters deal 30% more damage, since we're kind of canceling that out already with the Fright Mask. However, if you wanted to play it extra safe, I could acknowledge that you would go down this way and grab the 50% increased merchant prices. That is a much better cancellation, since, you know, we're lowering monster damage by 20%, then increasing it by 30, so we're taking 10% more. While this basically cancels out, you'll just get standard merchant prices. All right, so yeah, I'm going to go with this topmost route. Let's go see, and hopefully this merchant is a good one. Hopefully we get lucky with some good options from the merchant. Another Chalice trial, super straightforward. I can see shield wall being like a decent tech in the trial specifically. Oh, did I? All right, I killed 2 rares with that one. Oops. All right, just in case, it could be worth it. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's mop up the rest of the mobs and see if there's anything good around. Oh, block that crossbow shot. That's nice. Shield charge is pretty good for its utility. No, not the damage really anymore, but you are blocking all attacks from all directions when you shield charge, and you don't suffer stun buildup. Again, useful tip that I mentioned in my last video, something to keep in mind. All right, merchant, moment of truth. Let's see what we get. Oh, this is interesting. This is actually, so we're getting the 50% fewer choices here, obviously. This is actually quite good. Your next item from the merchant has no cost. So this potentially saves you like 400, you know, well, including the cost of this, like 300-ish sacred water. So I am definitely going to grab that. Let me check my honor real quick. I don't think I really need to buy the 100 honor. I'm going to preserve that and just keep it moving. Not the best options. I'm really hoping for like Ornate Dagger or Harefoot. Those are both amazing options from the merchant, but you know, maybe we'll see it at the second boss. All right, another ritual trial. Let's just get through this real quick. This is like the same layout, right? That's kind of funny. All right, pretty easy. Again, I'm not that concerned about the loot. I'm just gonna keep going. All right, so you can alter the parameters here. I don't know if I need to, it's only 5 sacred water, so I might just see what I can do. Yeah, let's just see what we can do. Lose a random minor. So yeah, I don't really like any of these because I don't want to gain any minor afflictions when they're random. If I could see what it is, I would consider this, but I'm not going to risk anything here. And losing a random minor affliction, but you lose a random minor boon, I really like all the boons that I have right now. These are some powerful ones. So honestly, I'm not going to take anything. I'm just gonna keep going. All right, and as we said, we're going to go with the top option, I think. Well, how much? I do have 500 sacred water, and the merchant is right here. And since the merchant does offer 50% less choices, does it make sense? All right, let's just go ahead and follow the route that we were considering. I almost want to go with the merchant, but I think we're just going to stick to what we initially planned with. And we have another death crystal room. Already went over this, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. This one is a little bit more complicated, though, because there are more crystals, I think. Here, let's grab that. Yeah, you see, it tells you where they are, but there are a lot more crystals to grab, and there's, you know, you just have to make sure you get them in time. So although I am fighting these things right now, you could opt to prioritize going for the crystals. I feel confident enough that I can clear these things fast enough, so let's just go ahead and do both. All right, another crystal here. You're dead. Let's go this way. All right, gotta be really careful with the sprinting. I honestly don't know if I should sprint at all. If I fall down, dude, that's like, that would just be so terrible. And there we go, I think, right? Cool. All right, nice. We actually got a handful of sacred water from that room. Oh, it looks like they shortened this room. Usually this room is a lot bigger from what I remember, so that's kind of nice, I think. All right, let's grab this sacred water here and go on to the second boss, the Terracotta Sentinels. So we'll talk a little bit about them before I start the fight. All right, so the Terracotta Sentinels, there are 2 enemies in this boss fight. One deals a lot of cold damage and one deals fire damage. Personally, I tend to focus down the cold one first because his area of effect just seems scarier to me. I mean, he mostly hits in front of him, but the radius is just so wide for some of his attacks. Definitely employ like a similar strat and just try and get behind him to deal damage. But also keep in mind the fire one, who also hits hard, but his attacks are like a little more directional and easier to dodge, in my opinion. Note that once you kill one of these guys, the remaining one will channel an animation, heal to full, and the arena will be filled with the like hazards themed after the one you just killed. So again, try to kill the remaining one quickly before you start taking too much damage. As one last tip before we get started, you can interrupt the remaining golem boss during its healing hype up animation if they are close to a heavy stun. That's like the perfect opportunity to interrupt and finish them off. We'll see if I can pull that off here, but definitely use that to your advantage. It can make the fight a lot easier. I'll try my best to like not destroy the guys too quickly, but I do think my build is pretty strong at the moment, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's get started. Terracotta Sentinels. You know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and wind up some shield walls now. Wait, hold on. Oh, he was immune. He was immune. I mistimed that. All right. Oh, that's a lot of damage. All right. That was a lot of damage, sorry. All right, well, they're down, and I did stick to my plan. The cold one died first, and the other one, I think, was heavy stunned, so it couldn't start the animation to start healing itself or something. I don't know what happened there. They both died kind of quickly, so, well, there you go. I mean, again, I haven't spent really a lot on this character. I think the maximum I've spent is like maybe 30 exalted on a weapon, and the rest is like 4 to 5 exalted or something like that. I haven't spent much, so I'm not trying to say I'm cheesing this. It's just, I guess the build is pretty strong at this point. All right, so let's see what Balbala has to offer here. How much sacred water do we have? We have 900. Something good. These are not great. I don't think I'm going to spend. I have the buff currently to make the next thing I buy from Balbala free, so I'm not going to waste it on this. This is so temporary. The next 10 boss monsters you hit are killed instantly. I don't care about that. Restoring honor is nice, but you can see I'm already like capped out for the most part, so not going to buy anything this time around. That means we go ahead and proceed to the next floor. Let's keep it moving. All right, let's take a look at what we got here. A merchant to start. That's actually awesome. I'll probably go with this to start. Because the rest of the stuff looks okay. But going with the merchant, well, let's see what kind of afflictions we have here. Cursed with Enfeeble. Actually not the worst, especially if your build is apparently dealing as much damage as mine is. So we have Enfeeble, which I think reduces the damage that you deal by 15%. I know the description here doesn't quite match up with that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. And then we have 100% increased damage taken while low life. Just don't be low life, and that's not a big deal. You're not always taken to the room you select. This, I think, is probably one of the worst afflictions you can get. Just not having control over how you progress through the floor is terrible. So terrible. This is one of the worst in my opinion. I would avoid this almost at all costs. Again, not the biggest deal if it's towards the end of your run, but this is bad. I would avoid this. And you have no evasion, so that's not really relevant to my build. This would not be a bad one to take. But again, I think I'm going to go with this upper route here. Going to go for the merchants, go for the Chalice Trial, and then go for this large sacred water fountain. And Enfeeble is not a big deal to me. This is also not a big deal, but let's see what's revealed here in this this next tier, and maybe that will dictate where I go. But let's go ahead and start the Hourglass Trial. Again, this is going to be the same as the other Hourglass Trial. It's just a little more difficult. The monsters are a little scarier, hit a little harder, have more health, etc. So we're just gonna, go through it in the same way, but be even more careful. All right, I'm gonna try and utilize my build here and the way it clears groups, which is pretty useful. Ooh, no. There we go. There we go. All right. I was a little scared there because the shield wall animation was taking a little longer than I wanted, but I think we'll be all right. Oh. I took a hit there, I think, from something small, so not too bad, but not ideal. All right, let's get the shield wall off. There we go. Nice. I think I got tagged a couple times, but again, it's not the end of the world if you are just, overall playing evasive. You just don't want to get, like, stunned or anything. All right, I'm not even going to worry about this rare. Its timer's about to run out. There we go. All right, so we have the merchant. Let's see what we get this time. Sacred water found on this floor is doubled. Interesting. I'm not sure how much this originally cost, but that is pretty good to take early on in a floor, and this is early on in a floor, and it's free. So I'm thinking this might be worth it. Yeah, I think I'm going to take it, because I think, hold on, let's check real quick. Let's just check the map. Am I going to a water fountain right after? I think I am. Well, let's see here. 50% increase. Yeah, this is looking like the route that we're going to take here. I don't really care for this, and this has no afflictions, so we're getting sacred water here. Oh, game is freezing up a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and go for that. Let's go ahead and buy it. And you know what? Since we took the hit, I think I will go ahead and buy the honor. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my computer here. There we go. It's getting a little choppy. I think this is performance issues. Are we good? Gonna play? Are we good? All right, sorry about that. The league has been awesome, but performance issues, like many people have been talking about, have been rough. But let's keep it moving. Another Chalice Trial. We know how this works. Just again, a little tougher since we're on a higher floor. All right. Actually, was that a rare? I don't think that was. This guy is, obviously, but let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Oh, one thing to note is that these sand pits, I think, can actually kill you if you stand in them for too long. They slow you down when you walk into them and, like, are walking across them. But if you just stand in them for a little too long, I think you just fail the trial. They just instantly kill you. So definitely something to look out for. And this is also something relevant to the boss that's coming up on this floor. So, yeah, we'll talk about that later. All right, here we go. No rares. The rares are up here, I think, right? Yeah, here's a guy. There we go. Easy enough. All right, let's find, I think the last one. I think it's only 3 still on this floor. Oh, here he is, right? Yep, there we go. Easy enough. And I think I will mop up. Sometimes the mobs start getting a little harder, especially on the 4th floor. I kind of tend not to mop up the mobs if I'm just trying to finish the run and get my last 2 ascension points, but I think we will just go do some hunting and see if we can get a little more sacred water. Actually, it turns out we pretty much cleared the room. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's just keep it moving. All right, so spend 5 to restore honor. Honestly, plenty of opportunities for this on this run at least, but I think generally there are, so it's not too hard to just keep healing up your honor meter for 5 sacred water. It's like nothing. All right, so cursed with enfeeble. I think that's probably the route we're gonna take. I don't really care too much about the damage reduction. We have another Hourglass Trial. Let's just keep it going. You know what? I should gather a bunch of these corpses up since I'm using the Warcry Explode Corpses Ascendancy. Ooh, I got tagged there by something poisonous, setting up a shield wall. So that's one downside of this build. That actually hit me pretty hard. I have to be a little careful here. Oh, taking some damage, dude. Might have to prioritize some honor restoration. What is going on here, bro? There we go. All right, a little better. That was actually a pretty rough room, but again, not the end of the world. So we'll just have to see what we can do to recover a bit from that. All right, let's see. How much sacred water we get here? 500. Okay. I think that actually that buff that I got only affects the sacred water you find from mobs. So I think I was incorrect in thinking it would affect these fountains, but we're going to keep it moving. We do have a merchant here, which is awesome. And immediately, I think I'm just going to make my way to the merchant despite the room types here. So let's do that. All right, another Chalice trial. Honestly, a little bit more slower paced. So let's go ahead and do this one. All right, where is this first rare, bro? This guy is not a rare. Oh, here he is. Let's do that. Oh, gotta be careful here. He's starting to shoot. So let's just play safe. Oh, he burned to death. Very good. All right, is there a rare? Oh, here's a rare. Come on, bro. Let's go. You know what? I'm gonna have to start empowering the shield walls with Infernal first. That's part of the build. Again, I know some of you have been following my build guides, so look for that in the next update. But I tend to empower shield walls with Infernal, and then I'll use the Fortifying Cry to empower them again and deal some more damage. I haven't been doing that thus far, but it looks like I'm starting to need a little more damage, so I think I'm going to start doing that. Yep, here's the other rare. Now let's just do 2 shield walls, bro. There we go. If he takes some time to set up, I'm going to take some time to set up. I don't think I found any sacred water from these guys, but honestly, I have 1,700, so we're probably sitting pretty good. We just need to see the merchant and spend it. Oh, we get even more. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go here. Change the trial's parameters, perhaps. I think that could be worth it. Get rid of one of these potentially could be worth it at this point, but you always have to give up something. It usually feels too pricey to me, but let's look at this third row here and see if there's something we want to avoid. Traps deal 100% increased damage. Pretty easy to avoid traps. That's like a nothing burger. You get 50% less energy shield. That is not relevant to my build. I don't have any energy shield. 50%, that also has no effect on me. Gain random minor affliction when you venerate a Maracas shrine. Avoid this at all costs. This is another one of those horrible run-ruining afflictions. Do not do that. And this is also really bad. Avoid this one too. Monsters, including bosses, have 50% increased maximum life. Do not go for those. And that's why that earlier affliction that makes you randomly go to rooms is so terrible, because you can just go into one of these against your will and just like totally screws you over. I think we go the escape trial, check out the merchant, and then I think we'll probably go with this one to restore some honor and get less energy shield, which does nothing for me. So I think that's the current path. That's what that's looking like. All right, escape trial, very good. We're gonna play a little bit more defensive here because I am hurting honor-wise. I may talk a little less this floor because I need to focus up. I don't want to take too much honor damage. All right, let's just prioritize the crystals. Yeah. Oh, these giants are blocking the way. There we go. And this is the last one, all right? There we go. Nice. Not too bad. All right, you know what? I don't even think I need to mop up here because we have so much sacred water already. I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to go ahead and move on to the next floor. I mean, if I can get there without, getting... There are a lot of monsters, jeez. All right, here we go. So we get the Pledge to Kochai. Let's just see what the options are. Ooh, remove Scrying Crystal. Don't want that. 50% honor restored. Actually, I forgot we had that, to be honest. I haven't really felt the effects. I don't think I'm going to... I don't care about removing that. 50% more defenses, but we gain random. I don't like random. Restore and remove Diverted River. Honestly, we're kind of swimming in sacred water right now. I think I would actually take this. This is not too bad. I don't need, and we're getting towards like the middle / end of the floor anyway, so this is having less of an effect because this will not be relevant after this floor. It's only this floor that the sacred water found is doubled. So I think I'm actually going to go with this. This makes the most sense. There we go. And so we gained a little bit of our honor back, but again, it's 50% reduction, so we got like 200-ish back, which is fine though. I can deal with that. All right, and I think we're gonna go with the merchant into the energy shield here. Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. Chalice trial, pretty easy. Let's go. I'm realizing the Hourglass trials are just a little scarier than these, just because of how hectic things get. Oh, this is the rare guy right here. Hold on, let's back up. I'm not gonna risk it, man. Gonna wait till he's done doing his thing. Oh, hold on. I'm probably overthinking this. Let's wait. He's gonna pick up his package and like come towards me again. I just don't want to. Oh, no, he's stuck. All right. Well, let's do this. Do that. Get away from that. Okay. This guy is the position is terrible for this guy right now. Jesus. Here, let's go back. There he is. All right. All right. Let's end this. Thank you, sir. Oh my god. I think I blocked that. I totally forgot he created a electric remnant there. Another mistake, but I think I got lucky. I do want currency, so I'm clearing out a little bit of my inventory to pick it up. But let's keep going. I really don't want to prioritize looting things. I'm trying to just get through. Oh. All right, cool. I did not take a hit there. Kind of risky to be in the corner, but it was fine. I did not take a hit, so we are good. Oh, here's the other rare. Let's do that and that. Oh, another electric remnant one. That's fine. Nice. Burning damage. People like to talk trash about Ignite. I gotta be honest, I actually like Ignite. Feels efficient to me. If you're trying to play a little safer, you can just let the burn do its damage a lot of times, you know? There we go. Ooh, gold keys are actually worth it. I should be picking those up. Wait, did I leave? I think I left a gold key back over here. Let me go grab that too. Yeah, what was I thinking, man? Gold key right here. Jesus. All right, any other mobs over here? Nope. I think we're good. All right, let's see what we got. All right, hoping for some good options. So we can actually get flooding rivers again. Definitely want to take advantage of the restore honor here for sure. Maximum honor could be good. We have a lot of sacred water, so honestly, kind of worth to get all of this. Let me think actually. Hold on. We're gonna have 1600. We might as well, man. We'll have enough. Let's just buy all the boons. We have enough sacred water. It's the name of the game, and we'll see the merchant again after the third boss. So yeah, let's just keep it going. I feel like I've said let's keep it going a bunch of times, but you know what I mean. So we're gonna go here. Hourglass trial. Kind of risky now that I think about it, but I think we'll just play it a little safer. Like, I'm not going to be focused on hunting the rares and killing them in this trial. We're just going to try to survive and take less hits, hopefully. This can be kind of dangerous if you're not killing or clearing fast enough, but let's see how it goes. All right, let's just keep using these shield walls. They're going to treat us well, I think. Just have to choose the right times to do them, because you do have to stay still for the shield wall, so that's where a lot of my damage comes from, but if I'm doing it correctly, it should be fine, right? There we go. Nice, got another rare there, so we're ending this a little faster than I was expecting. We got 12 seconds left, so it might be worth to just play a little more chill. Where's the other rare? I think I'm just going to chill. I don't really care to get more sacred water right now. I'm just going to avoid damage, run around in a circle. And there we go. All right, let us see what we have here. Oh, that's right, it's honor restore, so we get half of that restored, which is totally fine. There we go. We're getting close to our maximum, but now we face the boss, so here we go. We're gonna see how this goes. All right, this boss actually doesn't feel like it has too much health. However, there are 2 attacks to keep a very close eye on. Hopefully I don't kill this boss too fast. I'll try to bait it out, but again, I'm a little scared because I don't want to get nuked. But anyways, 1, the Scorpion has 2 big overhead, like tail stab moves that just go straight into the ground. One where it just stabs the ground, and another where it does that before like rolling forward and standing up on the tail and shooting projectiles from its claws like a tower. That part is like whatever, the shooting part. You can avoid the projectiles pretty easily. It's really the tail stabs in the ground that you want to be very careful about. Watch for the green glow from the tail, and again, usually circling sideways will help you dodge these attacks or not get hit by it. You should just be careful of some of its other attacks. It has like a horizontal tail swipe that'll hit all around it, so even if you're circling around, you'll have to block it or dodge it, and it has some claw swipes in front of it, etc. Again, personally, I'm just going to block these attacks, maybe get a magma barrier off or something. 2, when it starts diving around in the ground, it'll leave pits of quicksand that'll slow you down, and again, it's just like the one that we saw in that room earlier. It will kill you if you stand in it for too long. Really, the slowing is just as bad because you don't want to get in, stuck in a place where it's going to land on you. So again, just be very careful. I think you can also stand on these platforms to make it stop that phase. I haven't actually tried it myself. Maybe I'll try it this time around, but do not step on the pressure plates. Just stand on the corners here. Don't step on the pressure plates because that'll summon bugs and like make poison darts shoot around the room. Those are traps, but just stand on the corner of the platform if you can. I mean, honestly, I think those are the most important things to look out for in this fight. Let's go. All right, where are you, man? Oh, there you are. Gonna circle here. Oh, yep. There's the tower move I was talking about. Just gonna run around, avoid the projectiles. Sure, poison on the ground. I think it's gonna dive now, so I'm gonna stand here. It should cancel it out, right? Yeah, it did. There we go. All right, let's get a shield wall off. There we go. Pretty good damage there. Watch for the green glow. There it is. Another big shield wall. Oh, I'm getting frame drop. Sorry, guys. Pretty big damage. He is heavy stunned. We can just go ahead and finish this off. We saw the most important parts, in my opinion. Those were like the scariest moves. He did kind of all of them. And he started the diving into ground phase, but again, standing on the platform seems to work. Just don't touch the middle. Don't touch the pressure plate. All right, and I don't know why this is here. You don't gain... Oh! Hold on. I actually totally forgot that that's all you had to do for your next 2 Ascendancy points. So that's it. I have my 5th and 6th Ascendancy points. It's the Scorpion you have to kill. For some reason I had it in my head that you had to kill Zarokh, but I guess that's for your 7th and 8th one. So yeah, I can't actually even go to the 4th floor. I totally forgot. I was assuming that I was going to fight Zarokh this run, but I'll just have to save that for another time. All right, so change of plan. I had to run the trial again with the level 75 token because I totally forgot that I can't run the 4th floor with that other lower level one as we just saw. So here I am again at the start of the 4th floor, right after the Scorpion boss, and again, just for fun, I ran with no relics. I'll play a clip here of me starting the run without them, just as proof, but also let me see if I can show you if I'm using them or not. Can I show you? No, it doesn't look like the relics appear. That's too bad, but guys, I wouldn't lie about something like this. It's just for fun. I'm not using relics once again. And yeah, I made it to the start of the 4th floor, so let's just get over here and get started. All right, so I can't remember if the relic buffs appear here on the right, but again, I'm just trying to show proof that this is still with no relics. It's not the biggest deal, but I'm not trying to fake you guys out or anything. This is just, again, for fun, without relics, for that one YouTube commenter who suggested I try it, so the challenge still stands. Yep, and again, quick mouse over of my gear. This is, again, right after I went ahead and did that last run. Nothing has changed. This is all the same stuff, as you can see. Here, actually, let me move my camera so you can see my stats. Not the biggest deal again, but still level 79. You know, I'm probably going to level up on this floor. But yeah, this is literally the run right after the one I just did. But before we get started with the 4th and final floor, guys, I do want to point out that last run I was getting pretty lucky. But this run, I gotta say, I think I got even luckier. I found a major boon called Dakara's Necklace pretty early in this run, which is something I forgot existed, to be honest. But this basically makes you immune to minor afflictions. You just don't get afflictions from rooms anymore. You just have to avoid getting any normal or major afflictions from like using the shrines and stuff. Honestly, this made the current run even easier than the last one, so I apologize, but again, I think it's worth noting that it is possible to get this lucky in the trial, and by making the right choices, you increase your chances to get to things like this if you are, navigating the floors correctly, as I've been showing you. But with that aside, generally in your average run, I think overall at this point at the 4th floor, I'm usually most concerned with survival rather than seeking out those boons. So I'm a little less concerned with like Sacred Water and more interested in reaching the boss without taking too much honor damage along the way. Hopefully you found some decent boons along the way, like Ornate Dagger and Harefoot, or even get lucky and run into the merchant right before the boss and you can grab Invulnerability for the last one. I've had that happen before, and that almost makes the Ascendancy free once you get there, but there's still one mechanic during that boss fight you have to look out for, which I'll go over when we're at the boss. You probably know which one I'm talking about. But enough of that, let's get going and see what this floor looks like. Oh, and you know what? I learned from my mistake in the previous floor. Let me move my camera so we can see what we're looking at here. All right, so for the first row, we have an Affliction here, which is a terrible one. Monsters have 50% increased maximum life. I think we saw this one in the previous run. Awful. This applies to bosses. You do not want this one. No affliction here, no affliction here, and the second row has no affliction, so that's kind of nice, as does this one. Really nice. So this is the one we want to avoid. I mean, I personally have that necklace I mentioned, and I don't think this affliction would apply to me, but I want to play it straight and pretend like I don't have that and be more generally applicable to like most of your runs. I think going with the bottommost route is good here. I know the merchant is here, but you really don't want to take this affliction. You do not want this, one of the worst you can take. So probably going to go down here, or I guess you could go with the gold key, the Chalice Trial, Escape Trial. Let me think here. For me personally, I think getting the gold key is more valuable because you can find better chests, I believe, towards the end or after you beat Zarokh, the final boss. So I think I'm gonna go with the gold key, and the Chalice trial I think is a little easier than the escape trial in this 4th floor. So I'm gonna go with the Chalice trial into the Hourglass trial because the shrine just gives you a boon and gives you honor back. So that's can only be a benefit. And then I'll just kind of decide from there. All right, let's do it. So Chalice trial with the gold key. Let's go. All right, and I am moving faster because I do have Hare's Foot. Again, I'll show you the full list of boons that I ended up getting right before the boss. All right, there we go. Honestly, a little scary. The mobs here are no joke, so I'm playing extra careful here. I really don't want to get hit. Yep, oop. Let's make sure we're not doing any of that. Blocking all these projectiles because they're awful. There we go, good. Oh, I somehow took a big hit there. We gotta be careful. Okay, I'm gonna use Shield Wall a little more just to play it a little bit safer. Here, let's back up here. All right, so now I want to prioritize topping off my honor because I have all the boons I basically want, but that hit was not great. All right, big damage there. Oh, yep, there's the level up. All right, let's keep it moving. I did not like taking that hit. Again, with no relics, no honor resistance, hits are gonna hit me pretty hard here, so I have to be even more careful. All right, so for the next room, it's obviously an Hourglass trial, which is kind of scary, to be honest. I don't really like Hourglass trials this late because you can get mobbed, and the types of mobs on the 4th floor are pretty scary. There's like one in particular, the like walking urn creature that does like a machine gun. You really want to be careful about those. So I'm probably going to play, you know, very defensive in this one. Just trying to avoid damage again. I know I've said that before, but I'm not really concerned with killing things at this point. I really just want to make it to Zarokh. Like, I have got... Here, I'll just show you my buffs real quick. I've got all the boons that I want. And again, that's mostly due to Dakara's necklace. I was able to grab all the boons that I want with little to no downside, you know. Well, no downside since I didn't have to worry about afflictions. So that is how that's currently looking. But I still need to be careful because, again... No relics means I'm going to be taking some damage. And I'll probably go to the Chalice trial, I imagine. Well, hold on. Let's see what we got here with these afflictions. Afflictions are unknown on the trial map. Not the worst, but less information is usually pretty bad. This is kind of like a mid-level bad one. You and your minions deal 40% less damage. We've seen this before. Terrible. Not going for that. Take 146 physical damage on room completion. That is not so bad either. If I go to this one and then go for the silver cache and here, that would look pretty good to me, but we can kind of gauge from here. I don't know if I want to go this direction because you only get the option to go to this. So honestly, yeah, it looks like this room can only connect to this one. We're probably gonna have to take this bottommost route. All right, let's do an Hourglass trial. We're gonna play real defensive here. You basically know how this works already, but on the 4th floor, it's a little more rough. All right, here we go. Oh, I just realized I left my camera in the bottom left, and I forgot to level up. Hold on. You know, I think I might just go for some more hit damage for now. I may respec this later, but I am looking like I might go in this direction, so let's just grab some damage, I think, for now. This looks fine to me. Let's play very careful. All right, nice. It looks like we're dealing enough damage with empowered resonating shields to one-shot most things, so we might be all right here. I'm trying to play carefully, but also... Oop. Yeah, let's be careful here. I'm just gonna stay in this one area and just play very defensive. All right, the projectiles those floating guys also shoot are pretty bad. You really don't want to get hit by anything. Nice, I'm glad I'm doing so much damage. This would be a lot scarier if they were swarming me, but it looks like I'm killing them fast enough to not get overwhelmed. Oh, yep, don't want to get hit by this guy. How much time is left? Oh, is the timer just not gonna expire? Wait, I don't see a timer. There was no timer. Was that bugged? I didn't see a timer, dude. What is this run? All right, let's see what we can do. Can we go back into that trial? Because that was really strange. The timer didn't start. Oh my god, this is so strange, dude. I hope that didn't like lock me out or anything, man. All right, so it looks like it's still there. I don't think it's gonna throw me right in the middle of that trial. Let's see what happens. Very weird, man. Okay, it looks like it's making me start the Hourglass trial over again. Let's hope that it works this time. All right, starting the Hourglass. Let's see a timer, please. That would be nice. There we go. There's the timer. I cannot believe I was just fighting that with no timer, bro. All right, so let's just speed this up. You know how this works by now, so we're just gonna try and get through this. Bro, I cannot believe that the timer didn't start that first time. What a weird bug. All right, just gotta make sure I'm avoiding all of this crap. We're almost done. Nope. 1 second, 1 second. All right, we're good. Jesus. I don't think I've actually ever seen that bug, so that was new to me. All right, what do we get here? Let's see what our random boon is and restore this honor. That's great. We can top ourselves off from that hit earlier. Sacred, oh, this is Upward Path. I don't really care about that at this point in the run. All right, what's the map looking like? So we know what these are. We have the 40% less damage. This one is okay. It's not gonna hurt us too bad. And there are no afflictions on this row, so that's really nice. Let's just go to the silver cache, this Chalice trial, and then the Gauntlet trial, I think is what we're gonna do. All right, Chalice trial, let's get through this. Hopefully, a lot of projectiles. That's one thing I think I noticed in the fourth floor is there are a lot of projectile mobs, man. Lots of projectiles. You really gotta just avoid all that crap. Yeah, look at this. Jesus, dude, calm down. More projectiles. Hello, can we relax? Let's do a shield wall up here. Nice, that worked. These urns are terrible. Ooh, nice to find that. Let's do this, one of these. Awesome, we're good. All right, let's see what we got. I don't even want to open that. I'm gonna save my key. All right, so, ooh, we do have a merchant on the map, but I don't think with the route that we're taking, we're going to be able to reach it. No evasion is fine, so that's an affliction I'm totally fine with taking. I mean, I'm not even going to get it because of the necklace, but I'm just kind of pretending like I don't have it. So this is also really not a bad one. If you wanted to go to the merchant, yeah, I don't think it's worth going to the merchant because of the this affliction. This is so bad, I would actually skip a merchant if I had to take this for it. So we're going to go with the bottom Gauntlet trial. All right, let's get to it. All right, Gauntlet trial is pretty much the same idea. There are a few other hazards, I believe, in this floor. So hold on. Yeah, this one, I believe, if you run into it, you need to use these to move forward, I believe. So there's probably a locked door up here. Oh, no, it's not that one. You need to use this one. Hold on. So I will show you how this works. So basically there's a lever behind this door that you need to pull, but when you pull it, it closes this door also, and it'll open this one. This is the one that we need to open. So we're gonna pull this one, go through and hit this, or sorry, we're gonna pull this one, hit this clock thing, go through and pull the other lever, and this door will close, but the clock thing teleports us back. You just have to be sure not to get hit by a hazard. There's like a little explosion when you get teleported back, so make sure you're just always moving by the time the teleport happens. All right, let's see if I can show that to you. So we'll hit this, open that door, get this clock, hit this lever, this will close now. And we just want to stay moving, hopefully in a direction that's not towards the center of that circle. I just had to roll out anyway, but yeah, just be ready for the explosion, basically. All right, and then we can reach this lever, and this will open the way forward. Let's get rid of you. A lot of projectiles here, let's not get hit. You can block these, I believe, though, so if you really wanted to, you can go through and block. Whoop. Oh, I'm getting confused here. What is going on? Let me just roll through these flamethrowers. There we go. All right, more enemies. Since I'm able to kill them in one resonating, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Though normally you could just run by them if you're afraid of taking too much extra damage. All right, let's take a look at this map. What do we have now? Ooh, a bunch of afflictions on the way there. Hopefully, I mean, I'm going to be lucky with the necklace, but hopefully nothing terrible if I did not have it. We have monsters' action speed cannot be slowed below base, and they have increased attack, action, cast, and movement speed. That's pretty bad. Not the worst, but it's pretty bad. Lose 30 sacred water on room completion. Honestly, that's the one that we clearly go for, because it's the room right before the boss. This really doesn't matter, I don't think. Especially since it's only 30 sacred water also. That's like nothing at this point in the run. So definitely the route, it looks like, is going to be Gauntlet Trial, Escape Trial. Which one is easier? Probably going to go Gauntlet Trial into Gauntlet Trial into Gauntlet Trial into Zarokh. Escape Trial isn't too bad either, but I don't like the fact that you're on such a short timer. It can lead to some hectic situations because there are a lot more enemies, it feels like, during the Escape Trial on the 4th floor. So I'm going to go with the 3 Gauntlet Trials, but I'm going to kind of expedite this. We don't need to see all of these because we already know how it works. So I'm just going to play through and perhaps get to the boss. And yeah, if I did not have the necklace, I'd get hit with no evasion, which doesn't matter. I'm not stacking evasion, and lose 30 sacred water, which is no big deal. So let's just get to it. All right. All right, I think this is one of the clocks that we have to use early on, right? All right, let's just play it a little safe here. Good. It looks like the flamethrower actually hits you here, bro. I don't like the look of that. Jesus. Just roll through each time. Gotta be a little careful with Hairfoot. Oops, that hit me. Gotta be a little careful with Hairfoot because it can kind of make you over-roll sometimes. Hairfoot increases your movement speed. Sometimes that could mess up your roll distance, so you have to be a little mindful of that. All right, oh, we got projectiles here. Yeah, I can show you real quick. You can block these. As you can see, Magma Barrier just went off. No big deal, doesn't even have a lot of stun buildup. You also see these same projectiles in the final boss fight, so you can also block all of those as well. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so it looks like we have to pull, or no, we have to, that's right, on. Let me explain this. We're going to have to run through here, hit the clock, and then run all the way back here, pull the lever, because these two doors will shut, and we'll get teleported out of it, and this will unlock the way forward. But you're locked in here if you try doing it now, so you'll see how this works. Let's get to it. We're gonna block, gonna block, gonna block. All right, hit this. Let's roll block, roll block. Not to be confused with roll blocks, but roll block, and then let's see what happens here. We should get teleported out because we hit that clock. All right. There we go. Oh, I forgot about the explosion. Jesus, I'm so bad, dude. This is like the issue with me narrating the whole time is I get distracted by like what I'm saying, but it's fine. We're gonna be fine. More projectiles, you can just block through that. Just block through that, hopefully, and I think we should be good. This is the end here. Not gonna worry about those enemies. I am swimming in sacred water, so let's just keep going. Oh, this is closed? Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's hit this clock. We'll go over here. We have to line up the timing right. I have to actually wait a little bit. There we go. Just so the door's open by the time we get teleported back. If you pull that lever too early, you actually can teleport back to a closed door. There we go. Oh, it still happened, dude. Jesus Christ. All right, let's wait a little longer. All right, let's pull it now. All right, that should work, right? There we go, that's a little better. All right, we're just gonna roll through these flames, don't care. Roll, and we're at the end, nice. Easy, easy, easy. I don't like the fact that we're missing some honor, but hopefully it's okay. All right, we're gonna do the Gauntlet trial again. These Gauntlet trials, man, oh, I thought they were on the easier side, but I am getting hurt. All right, let's just go over here, rolling through the fire. Pretty easy. Get rid of these guys. Those urns are terrible, man. And there we go. I think this floor is complete, and we are now at Zarokh. So, oh, let's grab this key. A little bit of explanation before him, but we should be good to go. All right, we have Zarokh here, final boss of the run. Honestly, I don't find him too difficult these days, but he can still catch you off guard if you're being lazy about it. So the main things to watch out for as a melee, obviously, is the lightning spin attack. He'll spawn these like slowing circles or freezing circles on the ground and just start spamming lightning around the arena in a cone from where he's standing, which is from the middle of the arena. So you used to be able to stand in the corners of the arena to avoid this lightning attack completely, but I don't think you can do that anymore. So I recommend just dealing damage to him as best you can since he's standing still. Maybe stunning him if possible and running kind of, in the direction that he's rotating, like right behind the lightning. But if the lightning starts catching up to you as you're rotating around him, roll in the opposite direction to roll through the lightning rather than rolling alongside it. You don't want to roll like with the lightning because you'll end up taking more damage or you'll get tagged when you normally wouldn't. So that's just my advice there. Aside from that, there are going to be projectiles, as I mentioned earlier, floating around the arena most of the time from these little portals he sets up. They don't hit too hard, but definitely try to minimize how often you get hit by them. Again, they can be blocked, so if you are not too high on your stun meter, definitely block them. And of course, the one-shot mechanic. Many of you know how this works by now, but in case you don't, before phase 2 at around 50% health, if I remember correctly, Zarokh will freeze time, set up a bunch of hourglasses on the ground for you to collect, then unfreeze time for you to start collecting them. Your movement speed becomes gradually slower as this event progresses, and if you do not collect all the hourglasses in time, you're dead. That's just it. You fail. As I hinted at earlier, even if you get lucky and bought the invulnerability buff from the merchant before the fight, you still have to do this sequence or else you'll still die and fail the run. So as soon as you see him starting this event, focus up, plan a path, and start grabbing those hourglasses. This is where grabbing the Hairfoot boon helps you a ton. You don't really have to worry about, which order you collect the hourglasses in. Just make sure you get to them all quickly. But if you don't have the Hairfoot boon, I think it makes sense to prioritize moving towards the hourglasses that are furthest away from your character, since you start this sequence at normal move speed before you start slowing down, and each hourglass you collect gives you a little move speed bump. So you want to take advantage of your normal move speed to get to those further hourglasses before you start moving like sludge. But hopefully I can show off some of this stuff to you guys and I don't kill him too quickly. I'll try my best to show off some of the mechanics before potentially nuking him down. But if I do end up nuking him down too fast, I'll try to get footage of like a different run and just throw it in here to match up with the examples. But yeah, I mean, look at this list of boons. This is pretty much everything I could hope for. Like, having gotten that necklace so early, I pretty much have every single one that I would want for this boss fight, I think this will be a breeze, I think, but famous last words, baby. But all right, let's get to it. All right, Zarokh, where are you? Here we go. All right, let's see how much damage we do to this boy. Let's do one shield wall. Ooh, that's pretty good. Now you can see portals with projectiles. He'll also shoot projectiles, all blockable. I think this is the lightning attack he's queuing up for. Yep. So we are going to have to roll through that. You can also block the lightning, something I forgot to mention, but I am frozen here, so we're going to take a little bit of a hit. There we go. We can roll through it like that. Then just glad we got that example in at least. All right, let's see what we can do here. Ooh, that's pretty good. Let's see if we see the time freeze. That's got to happen. Ooh, that's a lot of damage. Sorry. All right, since we have Hairfoot, I'm not going to worry too much about the order. I'm just going to grab all of these as quickly as I can. And there we go. All right. I think he's dead. So, not as fast as I was expecting. I'm glad it wasn't that fast, though. I didn't want to nuke him down immediately so we could see a little of what he does. So I'm glad we got to see a little bit, but that was still pretty fast. All right, and I do have some room for all this stuff, so let's go ahead and take some of this loot that I want. All right, and then we go through this portal, and hey, I guess those are my last 2 Ascendancy points at this point. There we go. What do I want here? I think I'm going to go with the increased... should I go with the Jade? I think I'll go with the Jade for now. I'm going to mess around with this ability for a bit and see how it feels. But there we go. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this guide. I got my final 2 Ascendancy points, and hopefully you found that useful as a melee character. If not, I apologize. I definitely got pretty lucky on those runs, but I think I'll leave you with some highlights and any extra tips and tricks that came to mind while doing this most recent run for these final 2 Ascendancy points as some outro footage. But that's going to be it for now, guys. I will see you in the next one.
Of your illusions. The hour grows late. This is not the future I had foreseen.